Welcome to the Time to Fly podcast. It's time to give your business wings and take flight to achieve more impact, influence, and income with unique perspectives, tools, and tips from successful entrepreneurs and business professionals to help your business fly. Here to educate, encourage, and entertain you with their own unique perspectives and experience, plus sharing anecdotes of growing up as cowgirls. Here's your host, Jill Fleming.
Hello, welcome to this episode of Time to Fly, Give Your Business Wings. I'm your host, Jill Fleming, and today I am here with my dear friend, Susan Austin. I am visiting Susan here in Scottsdale, Arizona. Susan and I have been friends for over 10 years and was visiting with her, and she was telling me about how she has become a part of this angel investing group, and it's a group of all women doing angel investing. And so I thought it would be amazing to interview her and find out how, as business owners, you can position your business to be able to get access to additional funds and potentially bring in angel investors to help move your business forward. So today we're going to be hearing from Susan. Susan has a background in finance. She has an undergrad in finance and an MBA, and started out in corporate America working in finance, was a stay-at-home mom, started several businesses, worked on nonprofits, and was a certified divorced financial analyst for a while, and has been doing investing since her early 20s. So she has a lot of knowledge around investing that I wanted to hear about. And so I thought we would share that with our listeners as well. So Susan, welcome.
Thanks, Jill. I'm excited to be here and share my expertise with you and your listeners.
Thank you so much. So I know I just did the Cliff Notes version of a little bit about you. What more would you like to share about you and your background?
Well, specifically about angel investing, it's something that the first time I did angel investing, I didn't really know that there were groups and that there's actually an Angel Capital Association and small groups of angel investors all over the country, actually all over the world. And since I have been involved in FinCapital, which is the group that I'm involved in the Midwest, I have been able to meet investors from all over and learn about how the different groups operate, what people look for, what our mistakes are. And I've been able to meet tons of amazing entrepreneurs who are in early stage businesses. It's just been a lot of fun.
And so, Susan, with all of your knowledge and being in these groups, I imagine you have a lot of entrepreneurs coming to you looking for investment. Have you found that sometimes they didn't know about angel investing and then they stumbled upon it? How does someone position themselves to be found by an angel investor or to go out and pitch to an angel investor group? What would be the best way to find someone like you?
Yeah, it's a long process from an entrepreneur's standpoint, I suspect. I only see entrepreneurs once they are put a lot of blood, sweat, and tears into their business, and they're at the stage where they're ready to add investment from investors. Normally, an investor would use their own money, scrape, and maybe credit cards or however they begin financing their business, and then they might do a family and friends round. And then the next stage might be to go to angel investors. And then the next stage after that could be venture capital. And then it could be being sold or bought by someone else and potentially, down the road banks and so forth. So angel investing is for early stage companies, but we look for companies that have the ability to scale. And generally that might mean $10 million, $20 million and more in terms of valuation eventually. And of course that might take 5, 10, 15, 20 years to get to that point. But angels look for businesses that can scale because we look to put money in, and sometime in 3 years on generally the early side and maybe 8 to 10 years on the long side, get a return on that investment. We also are very involved with the entrepreneurs often. In your early stage, you're looking for money. You're also looking for not only investment, but what a network and what your investors might bring in terms of expertise or their network and connections, just sounding boards. Often an angel investor will be positioned on one of the board seats that you have, and often boards for small and emerging businesses like this might be 3 to 5 people, but your angel investors are probably going to be on that board as well.
So where would you say that revenue would need to be for a company before they would start to seek out angel investment?
Angels may invest in companies pre-revenue. It really depends not as much on the stage of your revenue as the potential for the business. Say you have something, I'll just throw an example out of something that came to us at one point. It was software geared toward dentists. And the market for that software was, going to be maybe 5 million, maybe 10. It was fairly small in terms of overall size when the business was mature. Make a great business for, a small business, but it was not to the level of an angel investor. On the other hand, we have invested in companies that have no revenue, but when they do get to the point that they will have revenue, they will be able to scale and hopefully large revenue and large profit potential, 5, 10, 20, 50 million, 100 million.
Okay, I'm a big fan of Shark Tank. So how is something like Shark Tank different from angel investing?
So there's a lot that happens on Shark Tank, I suspect, that is behind the scenes that you don't see. So you're seeing, the clip of 15 minutes. So similar, an angel group would have an entrepreneur come in and pitch their business, and their pitch should be well practiced. There are many websites out there. You can go to the Angel Capital Association and other websites and kind of get, here's what a good pitch deck should look like. It's generally going to be 10 to 15 slides that say, here's my business, here's the problem it solves, here's our leadership team, here's how we're going to do it, here are the financials, and here's what we're looking for. Here's what we're going to use the money that we raise for this raise to do, and here are our milestones. So you would come in as an entrepreneur, you would pitch to the angel group. There are some that will put money down on the spot, but more often than not, the angel groups will want to do due diligence, and that means taking a deep dive into you, your team, your business plan, your marketing, your financials, maybe even talking to customers if you actually have customers already. Really just deep dive into your business, because when we invest, we become your partners. We want that money to, one, help you, but ultimately provide a return for the angels for us as well.
So as an angel investor, we were talking here earlier and you had told me the stats as you've gone to some angel investing conferences and some different things. Do you care to share that with our listeners again?
Yeah, there are a couple different groups that provide statistics on this, but the latest one that I've seen is out of 10 investments that an angel investor may make, one will be what we call a unicorn and return potentially, 10, 20, 30, 40 times. So you put 10,000 in, multiply that by 10, 20, 30, 40. 3 will give you a 2 to 3 times your return. So put 10,000 in, maybe your return is 20,000 or 30,000 over the course of potentially 3 to 8 to 10 years. And then 3 will probably go to nothing. And I know that doesn't add up to 10, but 3 to 4 that basically give you a return in there as well. So a few that go to nothing, a couple that basically you get your money back and not much else, and then a few that gives you a couple times return, and then the one that gives you your large return.
And so as an angel investing group, what type of due diligence do you like to do to try to mitigate that risk of having those zero return investments?
Most angel groups will have, or funds will have some sort of a thesis. An investment thesis, meaning they may look at only tech companies on the West Coast, or maybe they look at agricultural companies in the Midwest, or maybe they're specific to a certain region. Other companies are somewhat industry agnostic, but kind of regardless, you take the expertise of your team, your angel investors, and do a deep dive in diligence. And we ask for financials, we interview the entrepreneurs and your team and your advisors, and we look at your business plan, pretty much look at your business through and through, and look at how you're going to get from where you are today to where you want to be in the future, what the long-term prospect is for scaling this business. Where is the world right now? Are you in automated intelligence or other things that are growing? Are you in a low-tech business? It just really depends, but the angels will deep dive into your business and ask a lot of questions.
So you mentioned the business plan. there's a lot of different philosophies on a business plan. What are some things that you look for in a business plan? Do you want a more traditional kind? Do you want a more realistic, more visual? What do you really look for in a business plan?
Anything you put on paper today is pretty much outdated tomorrow. So we don't need to see a business plan all on paper, but we do need to see that you've thought through all of the sections that would be on a business plan. If somebody asks you about your competition, you need to be able to explain your competition right away. If somebody asks you about your financials, those do have to be written down and presented. Basic projections on revenue and expenses, milestones, cash flow. When you take this funding, you're generally raising some sort of a seed round, maybe a Series A round. What are you going to do with that money? And then what happens after that? Because most often there are multiple rounds of funding before you get to an exit point. So the business plan doesn't have to be a formal written business plan. It can be visuals. You have to be able to explain and answer the questions that are going to be asked about your business.
So with that, we're going to pause for a quick break and we'll be right back.
This episode is sponsored by the book Freedom to Fly, the visionary leader's guide to unlocking your unique freedom code to confidently create more impact, influence, and income. Get your copy of this best-selling book on Amazon.com.
And we're back. I am here with my dear friend, Susan Austin, and we are talking about angel investing. One of the neat things that Susan is doing is she's a part of an all-women angel investing group. So, Susan, tell me a little bit about how that investment group got started.
Yeah, good question. The investment group, Finn Capital, we're out of Des Moines, Iowa. We've been around for roughly 4 years. I was not around at the very beginning, but as I understand it, our now governor, she was lieutenant governor at the time, Governor Reynolds, looked around and said, wow, there are angel investing groups around the Midwest, specifically Nebraska, Omaha, Kansas City, but Iowa, specifically Des Moines, the capital, did not have a women's angel investing group. So as part of some sort of funding from the state, we were able to get the structure going for a year or so. So it funded kind of, getting the word out, having a little bit of admin behind the scenes kind of work to get a group up and running. That happened 3-4 years ago, and there was a learning curve. I joined about a year in, and I've been a member for about 3 years. We're now we've been kicked out of the nest, and we're operating as a group on our own with a little bit of support from the Iowa Center for Economic Success, which has a variety of programs in Iowa to help small business and emerging companies in a variety of ways. So we're a small piece of that larger organization. We started out with a few founding members, and through word of mouth, at one point we had about 35 members. I believe right now we're roughly in that same space, and we'd love to grow to maybe 50 members, maybe 75 members. So we're looking for women who think that investing would be fun. You have to be an accredited investor to be a member of an angel group and to do a lot of this angel investing, and you can look online to find out what that means. It's a requirement by the SEC. If you're an accredited investor, you can become an angel. There are groups all over, a lot of small groups, a lot of large groups. On the coast, you'll find much larger groups. In the Midwest, you'll find a lot of small little groups. I've realized that there are probably about 5, perhaps more, small groups in Iowa that I never knew about until I became a member of Finn Capital.
So if there are women out there that would want to be involved in an angel group like this, how would they reach out to Finn Capital to possibly throw their hat in the ring?
If somebody happens to be in central Iowa, they should Google Finn Capital.
Finn with a P or an H?
F-I-N.
Okay.
If you're in another part of the country, look at the Angel Capital Association, or just Google angel investing groups, angel investing funds in my area, and see what comes up. I know there are many all over the country. Some are all women, which as a woman investor, I was drawn to Finn Capital because I had done angel investing prior to joining the group, but I had done it on my own. I know that when you're in a group with men and women, there's a different dynamic than when you're in a group of very successful smart women and we are listening to pitches. We ask different questions. I've sat in on a variety of other investing meetings and seen pitches in mixed groups. And I will say that men and women tend to ask different questions, perhaps ask them in a different way, perhaps focusing on slightly different aspects of the same business. And women are definitely not afraid to share their knowledge, their expertise, ask their questions, express their concerns. And that's what I love about this group. I can rely on the other people in this group and their expertise from banking and law and finance and insurance and medicine and all of the other types of things that these smart, successful women are involved in. And all of them bring something to the table that helps us to understand this business that's in front of us pitching. I may not understand something about it, but I always get something from a question that was asked. I learned something, and I learn about the business. And it might be a question that I would never in a million years think to ask. So I'm grateful, and I think it makes us a much better investing group because we have all that expertise. And in our group, each investor chooses to invest in a deal or not. So it isn't that the entire group has to vote to go forward and invest. I can invest the amount that I would like to in this business. And the person sitting next to me can decide they don't want to invest at all, or they want to invest 8 times more than I'm investing, whatever it might be. There's a lot of flexibility in our group. Now, there are many different ways that groups are run, and they're all different. But I love that about our group, and that for any deal that we bring through diligence and decide, yep, we recommend that this is a good investment based on, the team's research. Anybody in the group can invest nothing or any amount that they would like to invest.
Well, and that's really nice too. It's not an all or nothing kind of deal. It's like if it appeals to you, but it doesn't appeal to somebody else, you can still invest in it. And, maybe 5 of the people want to invest and 5 of the people don't. Like, that makes it really nice that you can have that choice. And I think, too, as an entrepreneur, as you're pitching to different angel groups, you never know who you're going to spark interest with, right? Of who has a background and who has an understanding that can see your business when others can't. And I always liken it to authors who pitch their books to different publishers, and they've pitched 100 different times. And Chicken Soup for the Soul was pitched, I think, over 200 times to different publishers, and wasn't picked up until that 200th time. And then look how many books that they've published. So I would also say, even if you get a no from one group for money, doesn't mean you should quit. You need to keep going. So take the feedback, because I imagine there's probably feedback for a group of like, hey, these numbers need to adjust, or, maybe you need to bring this person onto your team. Take that feedback, make your business better, and continue to go out there and pitch and get the funding you need to really make your business grow.
That is a great point. And that is really important. If you're an entrepreneur, every group is different. And, we're small. We have, 25 to 35 members. There are angel groups that have 300, 400, 500 members. That's going to be a whole different ball game in terms of the size of company they're looking for, the amount of the investment that they can do, their diligence process, and so forth. As well, if you're an agriculture company, you're probably going to do better in the Midwest than maybe you would out on the East Coast. There are groups that specifically look at tech companies and specifically look at a certain type of medical company or whatever it might be. So you really do want to try to find the angel group that is going to best align with your needs, your values, and your industry. And they're not all created equal. We have looked at a couple companies that we loved. They were very early stage, but we were not going to be their best lead investor, meaning kind of that first investor in. They needed to find somebody who was an expert in that space to give them credibility that we couldn't lend to that, nor did we have the size of investment that they needed. So we had to pass, even though we loved some of these companies, and we may indeed invest in one of the rounds. But finding that match is kind of just like dating. You got to look around and keep going and find the right match for you. It will really help your business grow.
So if someone was looking to just get started, can you share the website again that they should go to?
Well, my favorite place is the Angel Capital Association website. There's a lot of information on there. You might have to sift and dig a little bit. They're in the process of creating a much better website, but there's a lot of stuff there if you can find it.
Thank you so much, Susan. I so appreciate you sharing your knowledge with us. If you would like to know more information, I'd love for you to comment on social media, send us an email, and if you want to know more of Susan's great wisdom and expertise, maybe I can have her on the show again soon. Thank you so much for listening. This is Jill signing off. It's time to fly. Give your business wings.
A big thank you to this episode's sponsor, Freedom to Fly, the visionary leader's guide to unlocking your unique freedom code to confidently create more impact, influence, and income. Get your copy of this best-selling book on Amazon.com.
Join our flock. Stay informed of all things Time to Fly by subscribing to our newsletter at timetoflypodcast.com. And be sure to tune in to our next show.